No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And why I say that is because it really helps to hold ourselves accountable to how much we are truly capable of gardening our own minds, our own thoughts, and thereby our own beliefs, emotions, and life.
But someone else might have the narrative, you know what? We're honestly better off without him because he was doing harm. And they might not feel abandoned. They might feel relieved. Like, thank God, good. We don't have to deal with this now. Hey, everybody. It's Bianca.
And it's Amelia.
Welcome to another episode of Evolve Ventures, where we are helping growth minded humans evolve by breaking one limiting belief at a time. We hope
Hmm.
you enjoyed the last episode, number 315, Motivation Monday, how to make your appearance radiate. For today, 316, do you feel abandoned? Quite a pivot from the last episode, but I do actually think they go hand in hand.
Mm.
What I know you have a story that you want to ground us in, but what I want to say before we dive in is what we're going to be talking about today is what I really wish that I heard when I was in my darkest times, when I really felt alone and isolated and abandoned and honestly just really unloved. So, um, just right off the bat, if that is you, you're not alone. And we hope that this episode gives you a little bit of solace.
Hmm. Glad you said that and started that way because when it comes to this topic, it is definitely a difficult one to work through. And so, if you have a snuggie present, or if you have a warm cup of tea, or anything that makes you feel not just warm and fuzzy, but like really wrapped in a warm blanket, I want to encourage you to go grab that because we keep it raw and we keep it real on this show. And that's why we're here, to not only share with every single one of you what we have gone through, prove bringing forward the data proven methodologies that can help us break these cycles, but also to be an amplifier of the sentiments and the stories that we hear behind the scenes. Obviously, protecting confidentiality, but doing so in a way that helps other people recognize how not alone they are and some of the struggles that we hear time and time again that we do feel very much alone in. And one of them being is this aspect of being abandoned. And it is way more common of a feeling that we experience as human beings than we all feel quite comfortable talking about, to be honest. And I have a specific client in mind whose story always, after every single time I engage with her, there is a lot of reverence for the strength and the resilience that she has chosen to cultivate as a result of her abandonment experiences. And those first started at a really, really young age. And I know her story, sharing that, is going to echo a lot of people's stories, maybe not in the direct specifics, but certainly there will be some overlays and some parallels that my hope is really help us understand how not alone we are. So she grew up in a very rural town, had what she would refer to as a very basic upbringing. But again, how do we know anything, right? Until we actually start to get out into the world. And she had a couple of sisters and they grew up. And by the time she was like, 7 years old, everything seemed really, really great. And when you're at that age, your parents are the best people in your entire world. And you have neighbors and you have friends. And she had sisters in her case. And it was, nothing could go wrong, right? And we all kind of have that moment to where we might, if we're privileged enough, feel that bliss where, life is great, life is grand, there's only joy, there's only wonderful things happening. And her world came crashing down when her family crumbled before her very eyes. By the time she was 9, her parents had gotten a divorce. Her father had slipped into a really dark, depressive episode that no one talked about. And as a result of both of those things, she slowly learned how dark her family ended up having of an experience in their chapter, because her father was an alcoholic and he was extraordinarily neglectful of the family, and everything was put on her mother's shoulders. And as a result of her father walking out and leaving and never really coming back, she, as a young girl at 9 years old, as most 9 year olds experience, that moment when your father leaves and you have no certainty as to when he's ever going to come back, or mother, whoever it is, your caregiver, she internalized that moment as, why would my dad ever leave? Why would it be that someone who says that they love me actually walk out and never came back? So fast forward, now she's in her teens, has no guidance. Her mom turns out to be just an absolute wreck as a result of the split. There's no child support, there's no support in general. And she grows up to learn that she can't trust people, because the people that she loved the most and that she thought loved her the most, if they really did love her, why would they abandon her? Why would they abandon her? She learned to develop trust issues even when it came to her sisters, because her sisters had their own experience through this familial abandonment, right? And learned that there was only so much trust that she could actually put within her mother, because how could it get to that point where if dad leaves and you fall apart, now what? Who can I actually rely upon? And so hyper reliance on herself. Fast forward, she's now in her 20s and with a huge, great deal of trust issues and a large gap of guidance. She holds this belief of the fact that she will always be abandoned by people, including anyone that she attracts into her life, her partners, her friends, her coworkers, even. And it becomes this pervasive feeling of, I can never really get close and really love someone and be loved, because what that actually feels like comes with a great deal of pain, which is that abandonment factor. They'll eventually leave. And so thankfully, she came to me and
Hmm.
we've had incredible progress. But not everyone has that. Not everyone has that opportunity where they get to really work on that stuff. They go through the hard, challenging moments of that inner work that she and I have been doing, and working on that deep belief that because we've been abandoned before in the past by some of the most important people in our lives, that doesn't mean that that's going to always be the case. And so for those who do feel abandoned, her story is just one of many. It is so pervasive. It echoes into every single corner of people's lives. And sometimes it can be so debilitating that you don't even want to have new friendships, new relationships. You don't even want to even go to work. Sometimes it's even hard to get out of bed and feel like your own sense of worth and being and lovability is even possible of being acknowledged or represented. So, um,
Mm.
yeah, it's a really difficult experience and an extraordinarily challenging feeling, I would say, when you do feel abandoned. And I know every single person that's been on this planet has had that feeling in one way, shape, or form. And the
Yeah.
most powerful moment can be when you start to kind of break free from that, well, what if they do leave moment?
Mm.
Because that, what I find when working with people is, well, it's a lot easier to prep ourselves by them maybe leaving than it is to actually feel the pain that I felt again and again over time.
Evolve Ventures has a tremendous amount to offer. Not only do they have an ever-growing but still welcoming private Facebook society full of like-minded individuals, they also offer individual coaching. I myself have been coached by both Bianca and Emilia on separate occasions, and it's amazing to look back even a year ago in my life and see how far I've come. You almost don't notice that you're doing better for yourself over time. Not to mention, Out of the Mud, free live virtual event once a month. Can't think of a better way to spend a Wednesday night. You truly can encapsulate the value that it carries unless you've been there yourself and been part of the conversations and the connections that happen and just access to that kind of information. The resources are just incredible.
I think a pivotal thing to also note, Em, is we are communicating to ourselves that we're being abandoned. And that's where a huge part of the pain of this really comes from. And I'm not just talking about this clinically, I'm talking about this personally as well. So, like, what if they leave? Our answer to that question is what makes us feel abandoned or not.
Mhm.
So, that client of yours, if we were to just look at the situation objectively, right? Mom and dad struggling, dad is struggling with substance abuse, dad leaves.
Mhm.
Of course, at a young age. Now, anyone listening to this are like, of course she's going to feel abandoned. Her dad left her.
Mhm.
But that's a narrative. She developed the narrative something must have been wrong with me. He didn't stay. He abandoned me. Why wasn't
Mhm.
I good enough to make him stay? I why didn't he love me enough not to leave?
Why wasn't I deserving of that love?
Why? Yeah, exactly. But someone else might have the narrative, you know what? We're honestly better off without him because he was doing harm. And they might not feel abandoned. They might feel relieved. Like, thank
Mhm.
God, good. We don't have to deal with this now. I know that that feels like an oversimplification, but that is at the root of abandonment. It's us communicating to ourselves that we are being abandoned and that we can't handle it.
Mhm.
That I was abandoned once and I'll be abandoned again, and this is going to continue being an issue. We
And what
did
does
an
that
episode of
mean? Mhm.
Exactly. We did an episode a few episodes ago about jealousy, and I really talked about the fact that I used to be very, very jealous of Amelia and the
Mhm.
relationship she had with Alan and the life that she had when I was comparing it to mine. And I said in that episode, and I'm gonna reemphasize it here, the biggest reason I felt that jealousy was because I did have that narrative. Everyone abandons me.
Mhm.
Everybody leaves me. My 2 best friends, I just set them up and now they're gonna abandon me. They're gonna go be with each other, and once again, I'm gonna be left to the sidelines, and no one loves me. So, I'm really gonna be alone.
Mhm.
So, not only did I just lose my 2 best friends, I lost my 2 best friends to each other, and it's like, then it was devastating to me because
Mhm.
of the narrative that I had given it at the time. If you have this feeling, this isn't to point the finger and say it's your fault. It's to give you a sense of empowerment. I hope that this empowers you knowing that this is something that can be changed. Because if you understand that it's something that can be changed, you can actually take steps forward to change it.
Mhm.
You can never be abandoned if you feel stable within yourself. And now this is not me preaching hyper individualism because and hyper autonomy. I don't believe in that.
Mhm.
I'm someone who knows and the data and the evidence is very evident to this. Human beings need other human beings.
Mhm.
Having that sense of trust within yourself that you're going to be okay no matter what happens, like no matter who comes into your life and no matter who leaves, that's how you don't ever feel abandoned.
Mhm.
Because if this person leaves, okay, yes, it hurts, but you know within yourself that you can take care of you, that you're going to be okay. and that there's 8 billion other people in this world, and one of them is bound to make it into your life.
Mhm.
I started listening to, I think you'll appreciate this, Abraham Hicks. You ever heard of her or, like, heard
Oh.
of her content?
Mhm.
One of the things that she says, and I literally have it written on my whiteboard over there, one of the things that she says in most of her content is, "Everything works out for me.
Mhm.
Everything is working for my highest good." And I've went on tangents on this show saying I do not believe everything happens for a reason, and I stick by that.
Uh-huh.
And I know this is where you and I bump heads a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think everything happens for a reason, but I do think that you can make everything work for you to your advantage.
Mhm.
And that's what feels so empowering to me about when she says everything is working for me. Everything is working for my highest good.
Mhm.
If you authentically believed that, someone coming into your life, someone leaving your life, a situation happening, a situation not happening, how would it frame your experience of it? If you can do that cognitive reframing, that positive reframe of this might hurt and it's okay, how can I use it? That's how you make situations not be so catastrophic, not feel so devastating, and that's how you make sure that you don't feel abandoned and you don't feel alone.
Mhm.
Because you have that sense of assurance within yourself, which is what you talked about in the last episode, the
Mhm.
self-assurance and that, um, the self-regulation to be able to understand, "I trust me. I trust me, and
Mhm.
I know that I can take care of me." And that I'm gonna be okay. Not because someone else is gonna come protect me, not because someone else is gonna come save me,
Yeah.
not because I'm relying on another person to fix me, but because I trust within myself that I will do the things I need to do to figure it out.
Hell yeah. Hmm. One of my favorite quotes that has helped me in times to echo that sentiment be when I catch a part of me feeling abandoned. For
Mm,
example, like I have definitely past moments where I had felt that way, and it was a feeling that was constructed based on the thoughts, the narrative that was there. And that's why this episode is so powerful because at the very least, it illuminates how much control actually is within our power to rewrite our
mhm,
story, to rewrite our narrative. And this quote that's helped me was by Eleanor Roosevelt, which was, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." And why I say that is because it really helps to hold ourselves accountable to how
mm,
much we are truly capable of gardening our own minds, our own thoughts, and thereby our own beliefs, emotions, and life. It's just very powerful, giving, and um, quite the life giving quote. So that's my final takeaway for the episode suggestion on this one. If you like this episode, jump to 190. Are your people really supporting you? Because I think that that will help carry the conversation that might be happening in your head
mm.
in a way that's productive and adaptive. What about you?
256, what to do when others let you down. Today is the official launch day of the Evolve Ventures group coaching program. So we want to give a huge shout out to the 10 amazing human beings who signed up, who locked in their seat, who are going to be so radically transformed as a result of taking the chance on themselves to do this program. Our last group said this, and I'm going to utter the sentiment to you. You're not going to regret it. You are going to be so proud of the decision that you made to invest in a program like this. So, cheers to all 10 of
Whoop,
you.
whoop. Yeah.
We cannot wait to help you evolve into the greatest versions of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
To everyone else, we hope we see you in the next one, and
Mm-hmm.
we will see you in the next episode. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.